Hello everyone. Today we're diving into a fascinating topic. Why does our brain fire electrical signals? You probably heard of the term EEG or electroencephalogram, but have you ever wondered why our brain produces electricity in the first place? Is our brain some kind of advanced battery, or does it need to be plugged in to recharge? In fact, the electricity in our brain comes from the electrical signals used by billions of neurons to communicate with each other. These electrical activities are the fundamental mechanism driving the nervous system, enabling complex behaviors like perception, movement, memory, and thought. If we imagine the brain as a supercomputer, then the firing of neurons is like the data transmission within this computer. Well, EEG acts like a radar that picks up these electrical signals. But where do these electrical signals originate? They come from the process of neurons firing. In simple terms, neurons are the brain and fundamental building blocks, and they communicate through both electrical and chemical signals. Think of them as tiny radio stations that use electrical signals to broadcast messages. The secret behind these electrical signals lies in the ion channels and ion pumps on the neuron cell membrane. By maintaining a voltage difference across the membrane, they generate what Tren called the membrane potential. Neurons have two main membrane potential states, the resting potential and the action potential. Let's start with the resting potential. When a neuron is in its resting state, the inside of the cell membrane is negatively charged, while the outside is positively charged. You can think of this as the brain in standby mode. This voltage difference is about minus 70 millivolts. Maintaining this state relies on the hard work of the sodium-potassium pump, which tirelessly pushes sodium ions out and pulls potassium ions in, and ensuring this unfair distribution of ions remains intact. Next, we have the action potential. When a neuron receives a strong enough stimulus, the membrane potential changes dramatically, almost like it had been ignited. Sodium ions rush into the cell, causing the inside of the membrane to go from negative to positive. Shortly after, potassium ions exit the cell, helping the membrane potential return to its resting state. While this process may sound complex, it happens incredibly fast. The entire action potential takes just a few milliseconds to complete. These action potentials travel along the neuron axon and, at the synapse, trigger the release of chemical signals that pass information to other neurons. This is how the brain combines electrical signals and chemical signals to communicate. You might be wondering, what exactly does an EEG record? Essentially, EEG captures the electrical field signals generated by the synchronized activity of neurons. Herein a key point: EEG primarily detects postsynaptic potentials, which are the responses of neurons after receiving signals, rather than the action potentials themselves. So you can think of an EEG as eavesdropping on the conversations between neurons, rather than recording the loud shouts happening inside the brain.